little is known about Ubba's ancestry and early years. However, the chronicles reveal that his father was the legendary King Ragnar Lothbrok, renowned for his position as an illustrious warrior, a legend in the region of the North Sea. It is believed that Ragnar fell in love with an unnamed peasant girl, the daughter of Esbern, with whom he became involved. The young woman soon gave birth to a boy who was named Ubba. However, as he grew up, this son harbored strong disdain for his father. But over time, Ubba discovered that he was more similar to Ragnar than he had imagined. Restless, eager for adventure, and just like his father, Ubba quickly prepared for the expedition to the Hellespont, now known as the Dardanelles Strait in northwestern Turkey, connecting the Aegean Sea to the Sea of Marmara, forming the border between Asia and Europe, much like the Bosporus Strait. Ragnar summoned an assembly of Danes, and Ubba answered his father's call to war. Thus, father and son united for that journey, ready to face the most arduous battles. While plundering, Ubba and his father Ragnar faced many challenges together. Initially, they subdued the king of the Hellespont region. However, the king of the Hellespont had an alliance with a powerful Russian king, and when Ragnar saw the countless enemy army, he knew that facing them could mean certain death. But the Vikings' courage was greater. They confronted the enemy with cunning and strategy, leaving everyone astonished at their ingenuity. Ragnar came up with the idea of placing horses on wheels, tying them to chariots to break the enemy's line. During the battle, the enemy line was shattered, and the Vikings carried out a massive massacre against the Russians and their allies. According to the accounts, Ubba spent 5 years plundering and wandering alongside his father. Ragnar's love for battle and his thirst for adventure were passed on to Ubba, and together, father and son faced great challenges. They proved that nothing was too great for them. With strength, intelligence, and bravery, Ubba and Ragnar showed the world the true meaning of courage and determination. United in a cause, they became a legend in the North Sea region, a symbol of bravery and daring. The image of Ragnar, once a wild warrior and war veteran, changed drastically when Ubba returned home. Ubba, who had seen many lands and kingdoms, had a new outlook on life and knew that the path to achieving anything was through power. He yielded to his selfish desires and took his father's throne with the help of Esbern, his grandfather. Betrayal came to Ragnar when he learned that the Earls of Sweden were bribed to desert and join Esbern's cause. But Ragnar was a fearless leader and, with his own hands, confronted Esbern and beheaded him as a warning to all traitors. Ragnar's son, Ubba, fled, but soon reappeared with a considerable number of loyal warriors. A brutal war began in Zealand between Ubba's forces and his father's. Ragnar, an experienced military commander, fought with courage and was unbeatable in combat, breaking Ubba's ranks and attacking his forces from all sides. But Ubba, a brave and fierce warrior, killed countless enemies until he was overwhelmed by the dense masses of the enemy and ended up being captured. The emotional reconciliation between Ragnar and Ubba was a moment of great emotion, as Ubba was restored to his place as one of Ragnar's sons. Although he disappeared from history for a time, he re-emerged, and his story continued to be told. Ubba's rebirth occurred when he sailed towards England with a multitude of Vikings, determined to avenge the death of his father, Ragnar. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle recounts that in the mid-9th century, a powerful force of Viking warriors, known as the Great Heathen Army, led by Ivar the Boneless, arrived in East Anglia to overwinter and gather valuable information and resources before attacking the Kingdom of Northumbria in 867. It was there that they fought against King Ella and defeated him, executing him in a brutal ritual known as the Blood Eagle. Thus, Ragnar's sons could finally avenge their father. The Vikings' conquest left the English people in a state of panic, afraid of losing their lands and having their ancestral lineages destroyed. But Ubba and his brothers were cunning and ingenious. They knew it would be difficult to control the English under their direct rule, so they decided to implement a puppet king named Egbert, who appeared to be the ruler of Northumbria but was actually controlled by Ragnar's sons, who dominated the region. The Vikings kept the north of England under their control and turned it into the Danelaw region. In 869, the kingdom of East Anglia was conquered by the great heathen army. Now, Ubba and his brother Ivar had King Edmund in their hands. They beat the king and mocked his faith. Edmund was tied to a tree and brutally beaten, but he still refused to renounce his belief. Edmund sought courage from his god, which further angered Ubba and Ivar, who ordered their men to execute him with arrows. Even riddled with a large number of arrows, Edmund refused to renounce his faith. Impatient and insensitive to Edmund's appeals to his god, Ubba and Ivar beheaded him. The thirst for revenge of Ragnar's sons was so intense that it led to a series of terrible and bloody acts that left a trail of destruction and fear wherever they went. Their cruelty and coldness towards their enemies were comparable only to their determination to achieve their goals. The Vikings led by Ivar the Boneless were truly fearsome, and their passage through England remained etched forever in the history of that country. The devastation of the lands and the destruction of ancestral lineages were not enough to appease the thirst for revenge of Ragnar's sons. They established another puppet king for East Anglia, named Oswald, but even so, their bloodlust was not satisfied. Ivar headed north, disappearing from English history, while Ubba commanded his own force of men, just like the other sons of Ragnar. For a year, the great heathen army battled against the West Saxons and then attempted to subjugate Mercia. Many lands were conquered, and the Vikings now held the entire north and a vast extent of Mercia. Only Wessex remained standing, unyielding in its resistance. In 875, the great heathen army advanced on Wessex, taking Wareham and forcing King Alfred the Great to flee into temporary exile. There, in a swampy region in Somerset, the king hid, planning his revenge and gathering his forces to reclaim what was rightfully his. But a part of the great heathen army, led by Ubba, sailed to the coast of Conisbury in 878, disembarking with 23 ships and 1,200 fierce warriors. Upon arrival, they discovered that the Saxons had taken refuge in a fortress called Kernwit. Ubba prepared to besiege the fortress, patiently waiting for the occupants to surrender due to lack of food and water. But the chief of Devon, Ada, knew that Alfred was in exile and that no relief force would come. The West Saxons, aware of their situation, left the fortress at dawn on a determined day and managed to subdue the Viking forces, killing over 800 men. Ubba, son of Ragnar, was among the fallen. Even Ubba's flag with the raven, which was believed to be magical and imbued with malevolent powers from pagan idols, was captured. With Ubba's death and further fragmentation of the great heathen army, another bloody chapter in history came to a close. Alfred the Great would soon emerge from his exile and unite the southern England to reclaim his lands. But what if Ivar, Bjorn, Sigurd, Vitserk, and Ubba had stayed together after the death of King Ella? Would they have conquered the entire England as they did in the north? This is an interesting and intriguing question that leads us to imagine an alternate future for the Viking era. Therefore, we would like to debate this hypothetical alternate future for the Viking era in the comments. So, if you wish, feel free to leave your opinion in the comments section, so that we can discuss it. It will be really cool if you participate, okay?